Well, hello, that's me again, and today is August 20th, 2025. It is Wednesday, I believe. And what you see in the beginning is the yet another strikes on the Kremenchuk oil refinery, which, by the way, does a lot of business with Azerbaijan, if you understand what, or you get what I'm talking about. So, but before I go anywhere further, I want to make some correction, and there is, I have a really official excuse for this correction because, well, I mean, for my mistake rather. And here it is. When I was talking about the battle cruiser Admiral Nahimov going on the test trials, as you can see yourself, I mistakenly, I believe, I didn't check it, but for some reason it kind of, got into my mind that I mentioned that I was talking about S-400 navalized version. No, it was a mistake. What you see here, those two arrays, one closer to the stern, another to the front, well, closer, not closer, towards bow. Those are actually S-300FM Ford. Those are highly modernized air defense systems. And they obviously have their roots in the Soviet times, but by now this S-300FM is totally digitized, totally computerized, state-of-the-art air defense system. And the reason I made a mistake was because of this thing. And this thing is common to both S-400 and S-300FM, and it is 48 and 6 missile. And this is from 2010, by the way, which since then it hasn't been updated, but it already then was really, impressive data on this missile. And what you see, it's not 48H6E, it's 48N. In Russian N, Russian N looks like H in English language or English alphabet. So as you can see yourself, those missiles are also common to S-400 and S-300FM, and depending on the version of this missile, it's a rather astounding performance of those missiles. And what you see underlined in red here are actually the speed, the velocities of the targets which they can intercept. As you can see yourself, the E2 intercepts at 2,800 meters per second, so roughly divided by 300 meters per second, and you get about that. Yeah, they can shoot down their targets which fly with the velocity close to Mach 9. So the rest of it, as you can see yourself, 4,800 divided by Mach 16 essentially. So yeah, it's an extremely impressive missile. People say that the range is between 150 and 200 kilometers, but it doesn't matter really, because they are designed to intercept practically anything, well, and perspective, which doesn't exist in the arsenal of NATO, including obviously the carriers, which is easy to do. And if you look attentively at the silhouette of Admiral Nahimov, you can see yourself the navalized panzers and all kinds of the those modern gizmos, and yeah, of course, all those 3S-14 vertical launch systems. That's what I wanted to clarify, because obviously I made a mistake. So, but what I want to forestall immediately, that there will be many people who will go immediately and start looking up for the S-300FM Ford, and then they will recognize, oh, it's from like 70s. Guys, this is a completely different system. It just has the same name, but obviously it's totally digitized, computerized, high performance system, totally up to date for the realities of the naval combat of the 2025 and probably well beyond that. So, and that's the thing. Now, let's go and do well, it's rather shocking thing which comes out of the media. And as you might remember, my last or latest video 2 days ago was about unplugging yourself from the Western mainstream media or establishment media or legacy media, whatever they call it. And of course, they're obviously to from the old statements from the White House, which are some kind of schizophrenic, flow of information, and concentrate on what the official statements are. So Mr. Lavrov, foreign minister, no less, of Russian Federation goes out, and he constantly has to go out and constantly clarify all this BS that essentially here he is talking about this. He talked about in press conference. He also talked to other people. So he constantly makes statements that in the end there is no any kind of plan of the meeting with Mr. Zelensky, as the White House, tries to press on us or impress on us this whole thing. That and Lavrov stated yesterday to also the Komsomolskaya Pravda, all major Russian news outlet reported it, and you can listen to his speech during this interview in the YouTube, where he clearly states that territorial acquisitions are not the target or actually objective of Russian Federation. None. It is all about basically, security of Russian Federation. But those people, those bunch of losers who came to the White House, here it is. This is Ukrainian delegation, as you can see yourself. And they carry this map now, which now became a meme, actually. These guys only can draw maps. They really cannot really fight realistically. So, and as you can see yourself, political. This bunch of the cretins, from the, again, there are no normal people working in the establishment media. They talk about exclusive White House eyes Budapest for peace talks with Zelensky and Putin. Okay, I joked, honestly, I also have plans to visit, number of the restrooms in the airports around the world when I travel. So does it really make any news? Well, they can eye whatever they want. And they, of course, all those pathetic bunch of losers from all those media, they have their own sources, some kind of the, losers who leak information. The question is, it doesn't matter what White House eyes, or whatever, for that matter. I mean, they can eye Budapest or they can eye whatever, but Russians already stated, we just, guys, if you want any kind of meetings, stated clearly again and again and again. I don't know how many times that Mr. Lavrov, Mr. Putin himself stated, it's possible at some point of time when, of course, what the conditions are met for any kind of meeting. And Russians, of course, doing this tongue-in-cheek because they know that that's not going to happen. But you have to understand, Europeans, and there are many people, I'm kind of getting really tired of people constantly saying, but no, we're not like this. No, you probably, those people who write it in my comments, they are not like this. But majority of Europeans are like, the guys from Spain writes me, we Spaniards are for peace. No, I understand that you are for peace. The problem is you want peace in which Russia doesn't exist or is completely reduced to this third world crap hole, and then you're going to be saying, happy. That's one way of approaching this peace. Russians want their indivisible security. And so what we have here is that as you can see yourself, that's reported by MSN from RBC Ukraine. European leaders explain to Trump why Ukraine can't hand Donbass to Russia. So none of those European leaders are actually any kind of leaders. They're a bunch of the imbeciles who, Europeans, many of them like French, love their, whatever the hell that thing is, the family unit. But look at this. This is interesting. These are what Ukrainians report, but evidently, I can totally see this from Mr. Stab doing this. To explain the scale of the threat, European leaders used examples that Trump could understand. I like that approach. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that Moscow demand for all of Donbass is equivalent to asking the US to give up Florida. No, it is not, but it's Mr. Merz. Scratch him. He has Nazis in his, most Germans do, Nazis or Wehrmacht. So, and they don't like Russians. They would like nothing more than Russians being killed, just basically will disappear altogether, and then Germany goes in and gets this, Lebensraum and all those resources, which those, Russian subhumans sit on for some reason. But here it is another thing about this Finnish idiot, Stubb, that during closed-door talks, Finnish President Alexander Stubb described the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk and Slavyansk as a bastion against the Huns. So there you go. Russians are Huns now. And remarkably, it was Winston Churchill actually who spoke about Germans as Huns during the, the Operation Barbarossa on this, June 22nd, 1941. But now, as you can see yourself, Mr. Stubb of Finland, he considers Russian Huns. Well, I mean, we know. I'm Russian, I'm Slavic, so I know I'm viewed as a subhuman by majority of Europeans. Simple as that. And obviously they are leaders. And again, when people say majority, how you can talk about it? Well, I mean, majority of Europeans don't consider Russians Europe to start with. It's a known fact, and it was even before this complete collapse of the West as the result of the special military operation. And I've been on record for this for many times. Majority. It could be anywhere between 55, which is majority, 55% is majority. It's not big majority, but majority nonetheless, or 85. I don't know. It doesn't mean that all European people are jerks or, assholes, pardon my French. No. But it means that majority of them, they do not view Russians as equal. They do not view Russians as totally human, and whatever the percentage, who cares now? As I stated a number of times, Europeans achieved what they couldn't have achieved even, for the last 80 years. Russians hate Europe now. And so that they have to live with that. And everything what is happening now, including this pathetic performance of all those European leaders who have been gathered as the school children in the front of the, whiteboard with the teacher, Mr. Trump, himself in a very precarious position, was trying to give them some sense of the importance, but in reality they went there to be shown that, White House continues to do what they do always, spewing a lot of BS for the PR reason, because this is the only thing American politicians can do. But at least now we know what is going on in the relations between United States and Europe. And Europe, in many respects, have been told that they have to take their position as the chihuahua near the foot or the leg of their master and be done with it. I mean, that's what it is. And Russians, for example, don't care what happens with Europe. I repeat it again. I will repeat it ad nauseam as many times as necessary. Not a single foot of Russian soldier, not a single drop of blood, of Russian blood, will ever be on the European soil again. Simple as that. But we'll continue. So what do we have then when we talk about this whole, gathering, so to speak, and all this hysteria around the issue of, Vladimir Putin and Mr. Trump seeing each other in Alaska? Oh, Wall Street Journal. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Trump-Zelensky meeting. Ukraine is ready for talks, but Russia is non-committal. Non-committal in normal language means that Russia is not interested, and no. Most likely Russia is, Mr. Putin will not be talking to Mr. Zelensky. And all this talk about that, somebody says that, Lavrov says, Putin says, that, we might consider the, elevation a little bit of the status of the delegations. Everybody like, he means Putin. No. Elevation of the status of delegation means merely that Lavrov may at some point of time himself just come there, and it's going to be dramatic elevation of the status of the delegation, for example, in the negotiations with Ukraine. At this stage, the head of the Russian delegation is Mr. Medinsky, former culture minister, and the man basically without the job, essentially. He is the special envoy, if you wish, so Russians can actually elevate the meeting, or not even necessarily Lavrov. There are very many deputies of the Russian foreign minister, which are very important people, such as Mr. Rybkov, for example, first deputy foreign minister of Russian Federation. He can attend this meeting, and that could be, yes, elevation of the status of the delegation. Simple as that. Mr. Putin is not going to meet Mr. Zelensky, as Mr. Putin himself stated, until all requirements are met, or I don't know how many times you have to say it, but evidently there are many people in, well, let's put it this way, as I already stated many times, establishment media or legacy media in the West are not media. They are propaganda machine, and that they are stuffed with despicable jerks, war criminals, and all kinds of the human trash. And as the result, they do what they are told, and any idea that, and any basically statement to the effect that, oh yeah, the free press, there are no free press in, well, there is. It's called alternative media. And here where we go into some other and very important thing. And it's Mr. Medvedev states, he sums it up very well. The anti-Russian warmongering coalition of the winning failed to outplay POTUS on his turf. Europe thanked and sucked up to him. Absolutely, that's the position of Europe. They are nobodies. The question is which tune the Kiev clown will play about guarantees and territories back home once he's put on his green military military uniform again. Correct. I mean, and again, those ideas that somehow somebody dropped this idiotic idea that Trump says that, oh yeah, if there will be some kind of peacekeepers, we're gonna support them with our Air Force. Well, somebody tell Mr. Trump about the situation with the combat readiness of the US Air Force, which never encountered first-rate air defense, well, actually best in the world by a mile, and real Air Force if he wants to get United States involved into this. But it is typical of, hot air ballooning or hot gas, emanating from the White House. And the question is, of course, that it's the issue, if you wish. It's all about PR. We know that. And so, guess what? Then Caroline Levitt, she comes up with this. It's her tweet or whatever, whatever that thing is. So I think it's her account, but again, don't hold me responsible for if it is not. But it looks like that she is, giddy from the fact that poll Trump approval surges to 54% after meeting with Putin. Yeah, sure. Americans are generally for all kinds of the peaceful things developing between Russia and the United States. So obviously the question is that how much of the Putin input is in this approval surge. But you know what? This is the kind of the indication of the mood among American public, and it's positive. Make no mistake. And so. What do we have then after all this said and done, and there is a whole how to say it, misunderstanding that many of us say that Trump still, well, he cannot. He doesn't have background. He doesn't have grasp of strategy. He has no clue about the real serious technological aspect of the warfare. So is he still walking lost in this forest? Absolutely. But yeah, as Mr. Lavrov says and Mr. Putin says, yeah, the desire there is sincere. It's just that, yeah, you sometimes cannot explain to person who is nothing more than showman and New York real estate shyster how the world operates outside. So, and we know, we discussed it many times, I presented to you many times all kinds of the things related to the psychological portrait, if you wish, of Mr. Trump, and that is why you cannot explain. Can you imagine, for example, of course it's, absolutely fantasy, but me explaining to Mr. Trump what the combat effectiveness, combat readiness of the force is, how it fights, why it is happening, everything with the United States military adventurism, time after time after time, that it cannot win a war. You can't explain it to him. But whatever, it's just the way it is. And here we get to the how to say it, line of the combat contact. Let's start with this. As you can see yourself, if you look at the map, it's scheme of the Krasnoarmeysk, now in Pokrovsk, as you can see yourself. It's today. Obviously, it doesn't mean that it happened today. Most likely, as I already stated many times, there are all kinds of the lag behind those schemes and maps popping up, because obviously the actual position of the forces is highly secret, highly classified. But look at this. You may say, what is this again? night party, kids night party, showing you at, in Pokrovsk, inside Krasnoarmeysk, which is the Russian name. Well, it's attempts of the attack by Ukrainian forces, or rather counterattack, as you can see yourself. And once you see this party, that means what? It has been completely demolished. That means they ran themselves into the cauldron, have been surrounded and killed. And so obviously they tried desperately to hold on to Krasnoarmeysk, Pokrovsk. I will use both names here not to confuse you. But the truth is, as you can see yourself, this it's not anymore, attempts of this corps. They call it corps. The corps is supposed to be at least 2 divisions and things of this nature, but yeah, it's Ukrainian corps nowadays, if you look attentively at their losses. And they try to get them, to Pokrovsk or Krasnoarmeysk, to relieve it. Yeah, they tried, all right. So they unloaded whatever they could unload, and yeah, it was annihilated. It's just a complete slaughter there. And here that brings us actually to this. As you can see yourself, this is today's tally. It's again, I want to repeat, it's August 19th, yesterday's, pardon me, tally. And what you see here, those numbers, these are the utterly conservative numbers which Russian Ministry of Defense provides. It doesn't provide any numbers that it cannot confirm, by the means of the objective control. So, but most of what you see here in the lowest level, military personnel killed and wounded, is primarily killed. So yesterday rather, we can see another 1,370. And here comes this thingy. Oh yeah, it's now making the rounds. And yes, there is well, it's not really sensational, and I will get to you on this shortly. So, hackers hacked the database of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and revealed the losses of the Ukrainian army. And here it is. The database was contained information about 1.7 million Ukrainians' losses during special military operation. It was made public by hackers who broke into the database. And look at this. It is noted that during the years of the special military operation, Ukraine lost 1.7 million servicemen. This data includes the dead and missing. That means what? It's a machine translation. It means that's dead and missing only. That means 1.7 million KIAs. And so the largest losses, according to hackers, fell on 2025, 621,000 people. So yeah, this was the data. Obviously, this computer support and all kinds of the things which operate there are provided by NATO and United States in particular. But as you all know, that if Russian hackers wants to hack something, they will. So you just simply need to completely unplug from any kind of the internet, if you wish. And so this is what it is. And that brings us to the number which Colonel Doug McGregor, for all my constant and irreconcilable disagreements with him on the history of the Soviet Union and the Red Army, which he doesn't know. I am on the record. I'm not afraid to repeat this. But I also state constantly, I respect him as a military professional and as the man of honor. He definitely has what very many people in the United States, in Washington, D.C. lack. He hasn't human integrity, and so I can only applaud him for that. And he actually, as you remember, I spoke about this on a number of occasions in the last months or so. He he has his own, basically, very serious connections in Pentagon, which are still viable today, and he stated 1.8 million killed on Ukrainian side. So as you can see yourself, hackers and Douglas McGregor, they do corroborate essentially each other. So when you look attentively at these horrifying numbers, for example, U.S. Army has no clue what it is. They do not understand how you can fight this, because a United States Army, if it would fight like this, and it wouldn't do much better than Ukrainians, it will simply disintegrate, because it wouldn't be able to sustain this kind of losses. And American society would go bananas, which will make the Vietnam era counterculture just stroll in the park compared to what would be happening in the United States here. But These are the numbers. And if you take 1.7 million even, you can easily multiply it by 2. That means another 3.4 million are maimed, killed, wounded, and suffer from all kinds of the PTSD and mental issues, which is corroborated by news. And actually, you can look at any kind of videos, on YouTube to see what is happening. And here we have the very important meeting of Mr. Douglas McGregor and Mr. Nafal. And you can go to the YouTube and watch this. So here we have this boy who talks to this guy who is actually a beast of his U.S. Army colonel, who commanded the tank regiment in Gulf War, who killed people, and probably very many of them, considering especially the level of the combat readiness of the Iraqis, who actually he's a friend of Mr. Trump, and of course he has very many serious connections on the level of the top brass in Pentagon. So here's this guy who tries to preach to Mr. McGregor 5 days ago about all this, special military operation from the, as you might expect, ABC and MSNBC and Ukrainian sources. And Colonel McGregor just lost the, nerve with this, this entrepreneur and whatever the hell this kid is. And he stated to him, openly, stop lying to your audience. But you cannot make them stop lying. This is the problem which I speak non-stop. You have all those so-called media personalities who for some reason decided that they can comment and can analyze, quote unquote, just because they look at the map, that they can analyze the, dynamics of the, hostilities. They can't. And here, for example, in this particular case, Mr. Nafal, look at his background. And here's the guy who decided to go toe-to-toe with the professional officer with a serious academic background and incredible life experience. So Mario Nafal is a Lebanese-Australian entrepreneur, business influencer, citizen journalist, podcast host, well, pretty much the same as I am. So he co-founder of FT Technologies and CEO and founder of IBC Group. Nafal was born in Lebanon in 1994. His family migrated to Australia when he was 6 years old. Raised in Australia, Nafal possesses Australian citizenship and a residence permit for United Arab Emirates. And look at this. He graduated with degree in banking and finance from the Monash University. Okay, sure. Who are we, those losers of us? Who have, went through all those academic military institutions, went through those horrible boot camps, suffered from sleep deprivation, have been killed almost killed on a number of occasions, have, like me, a graduate degree in all those kinds of funny engineering and, weapon system integration and things of this nature. And, some with the combat experience and things like that, telling, to all those kids that dudes, just shut up and go back into your goddamn niche and preach their whatever their cryptocurrency and BS your audience is a bunch of the morons who believe in all this, what Ponzi scheme. Don't even try to go out there and pretend that you understand anything which requires very many decades of the serious military background and then development yourself as the military professional, including through the means of the OSINT, which is the open source intelligence. So they dare to talk to people who understand and whose social circle, like my social circle, if anybody wonders, are among people who graduated military academies, served, many combat veterans, people, some of them are acting very high-level senior officers on the very serious staff positions and even apparatus of the general staff and things like that. So here we are, we're saying, no, everything you know about war is garbage. Every other, not every other, pretty much 90% of those military analysts, who have been, I don't know who have they been, people who never saw any serious military technology up close and who do not know how it all works. Well, they love explosions on the tactical level. Yeah, sure, why not? There is a lot of drama. People get killed, on the tactical level. That's where they get killed. But in reality, as I already stated many times, I will repeat it again. The wars are won on the operational and strategic levels. And when I look around, I find very few people who understand that. Majority of them are nothing more than, yes, influencers. I don't know. They should come up with the idea about combined arms operation and go to TikTok. Think about it. Why don't they go to Pornhub? All those, whatever the guys, I remember I made a video about this loser Bimkov or these losers from the whatever, Stratford, whatever it is. So these are not professionals. These are shysters from the information, and they sell crap to their being those people they influence, and as a result, people are absolutely, misinformed. And as a result, that's why Doug McGregor went ballistic and said, stop lying. This is what I'm saying to you, all those who listen to me. I know many of them go to my channel. Stop lying. Go to the elementary school and start your education anew. And probably you will get to the level at some sophomore cadet of some military academy before you begin to say anything about warfare and war. So this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee too. Bye-bye.